Hey everybody, I wanted to touch base with you guys and go through this week's plan. I know you guys are submitting work, or you should be submitting work that is due at midnight or 11:59 p.m. tonight. But I want to kind of get you set up for the next week, which is mostly going to be focused on your internal assessment and review process. I've had a lot of questions, which is good, over the last week about the IA and kind of what the plan is. And I'll talk about this in our Zoom meeting tomorrow as well. But I still tentatively have the final deadline set for whatever was in your packet. I don't remember what that was right off, but I will get it for you by the meeting tomorrow. And that's because I have to have enough time to actually grade those and get those back to you before the end of school, because they go in as your second semester final. So that's kind of the timeline on the IA. That's the most common question I've had is that final due date the same? And my answer is yes, at least as of right now. If it changes, I'll let you know. But I wanted to lay out this week and kind of, I think I figured out a structure that'll work and be more manageable than random things posted here and there, although there will still be some places you need to go to get information. So on the agenda, where I always post the agenda, I've updated this right now. You can see here it says currently in draft form. I'll delete it when it's complete because I need to finish shooting this video and then upload the link, and then it will be done. And what I will probably do is take these bullet points and just post them on the main page of Google Classroom as well. What I've tried to indicate is if it's something you actually need to submit, so something you're turning into me, it'll be red, and so you can see that there. And so first thing I want you to do this week is watch the video that you're currently watching. It'll be uploaded to YouTube, or the link will be uploaded here so that you can go to YouTube and watch it. I just have uploaded them to YouTube so that there's not any issues with me embedding the video in Google Classroom. So I've had other teachers talk about issues with that. I've already referenced this, but I will point it out again here. Tomorrow we are going to have a Zoom meeting at 1 o'clock. So that's Tuesday, March 31st. And I talked to Fitz and Boss to see if they wanted to combine the TOK and HOA meetings so you don't have to have multiple. And they thought that was a good idea since you guys are all the exact same students in both of those classes. So tomorrow at 1 o'clock, you will get your HOA Zoom and your TOK Zoom, because we were asked by administration to have Zoom availability or Zoom meetings once a week. So we will be doing that. That'll probably be a constant thing. The actual first assignment that you're going to turn in this week is an internal assessment IA self-review form, and I'll go through that here in just a moment, but you're going to submit that by the end of the day Wednesday, so 11:59 p.m. Wednesday through Google Classroom, and there will be a link on Google Classroom to do it. I tried to use Cami and it was kind of a mess. Some of you guys submitted blank PDFs and all sorts of things through Cami, so do whatever works for you to get it submitted in. I'll pull up the document here in just a moment so that we can go through it. But I do want that self-reflection or self-evaluation submitted to me by Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. To pull in that doc. This is actually going to be kind of a multi-step process. The first step is your own peer review. I guess I can make this full screen. I guess self-review, but it's going to, by you going through this, it will help you when we get to the peer review process later in the week. And so I've got this sheet and I've used it in class before. I've adapted it a little bit to make it something you can do a self-review on. And again, you're going to be going through and doing a peer review with it later this week, or multiple peer reviews. So the directions say just follow the sheet step by step and fill it out as you go. Again, if you're doing this in Google Docs or Cami or whatever else you want to, as long as you get it to me, that will work. Oh, something else with that. Anytime you submit something to me, please make and this will just become a class form, please make whatever you're typing in a different color. So like black is what all my documents will be in. If you could type your answers in red or something, that would make it much, much easier for me to evaluate. And I'll post that as a reminder on the agenda as well, just because that will make my life a lot easier going through this. So anyway, you've got the different sections of your paper shown up here. It actually starts through list of sources is where I want to start, and that's because this is now an ungraded part of the internal assessment. It did not used to be, but it is now. So with your list of sources, I do want you to evaluate them going through using these tools. And I even included the old internal assessment rubric had this 0, 1, 2, 3 point value. They don't award points for it anymore, but just so you can gauge is your sourcing done correctly. So that is section I for that. And so then you actually get into your actual paper. And so section A, identification, evaluation, sources, you are going to read through this while reading and looking at your paper and answer all of the questions. I broke the identification, evaluation, and sources up into two parts. So you've got your identification and then evaluation sources. And so you'll do the same thing with the evaluation sources, going through answering yes or no, and then providing your descriptions. And then I have the actual rubric, and this is IB's rubric. So you've got your 0 to 6 marks for this first part of your paper. It's spelled out pretty clearly on this form. When I show you guys what you're doing later this week on Turnitin, it's a little bit more messy, but you'll probably want to come back to this form when you're doing the peer review process. Thursday through, I think Monday is the date I set on it for your peer reviews. And so you can see your identification, evaluation of sources. Then we've got the investigation broken down into evidence and analysis. So you're going to go through the same process, answering the questions, and then looking at the rubric for that section of your paper as well. So you're assigning yourself a score. And this isn't something where you just randomly pick a number from 0 to 15. Like, you should be able to look at your paper and look at these descriptions and say, does my paper do this? And the way that IB does their grading, or how we do our grading for IB, is you say, I'm in this 4 to 6 range. Does this paper do everything here? If it does, then I'll go to the 7 to 9 range. Does this paper do everything in the 7 to 9 range that it states there? And if it does, then we go to 10 to 12. And then we get to the 10 to 12 range and say, does this paper do everything that it needs to in this 10 to 12 range? If the answer is no, then you go back to the 7 to 9 range and gauge, it's somewhere within there. So that's 7 to 9 points. And then the reflection, I don't have any specific questions for you, but I do have the rubric here that I want you to go through and evaluate and state where your paper would lie on those 0 to 4 marks. Once you've done that, what you need to do is take sections A, B, and C and write your total out of 25 that you would evaluate yourself as getting on this IA. And again, I want you to be honest with this. If you say you got 1 out of 25, that has no bearing on how I grade it, but I just want you to go through this process to maybe point out to yourself weaknesses or areas where you could improve within your paper, because you're going to be doing this, and then a couple of your peers are going to be doing this for your paper as well. So that is the internal assessment self-review that you're going to be due. That out. And that is due on Wednesday at 11:59. Along with that, I want you, once you've gone through that process, you're also going to submit your final draft of your IA. And when I say final draft, it still means draft, so not final submission, but the draft that other people are going to look at to turn it in by Wednesday at midnight as well. And so I've got turn it in up here. You can see your actual paper is final internal assessment draft 1. Your paper is due April 1st at 11:59 p.m. And then that leads into the final bullet point here is by next Monday. So Monday, April 6th at 11:59, you're going to go through the peer review process on Turnitin. And this is one of those things, I've not done it before, but the way I structured it and set it up, I believe it's going to be very self-explanatory, where you're essentially going to be answering the questions that you answered on the self-review form for someone else's paper within Turnitin. And it will randomize whose paper you get. And so we'll kind of get that all figured out. And next week, I plan on having a time where whoever looked at your paper, and so everyone's gonna have at least 2 people look at your paper, whoever's looked at your paper, get you guys some time to actually talk with one another about what the overall feeling was and any questions and comments that might exist from what you commented on their paper. So that is the tentative plan for this week. Hopefully I'll see everyone tomorrow at the meeting. Thanks.